Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Klay Travis. I know. Trust me. The PGA is on. I've got it on in the television right here to the right side of my show. So I know a lot of you are watching the PGA. But I've been running around like crazy, been so busy the last couple of days, I haven't had time to sit down and touch base on all the biggest news of the world, sports, media, business, politics, everything. And I want to make sure I caught up with you guys on Thursday before Friday gets here and maybe chaos is involved. Game of Thrones, 1,000,000,000%. If you don't already know, I will be live as soon as Game of Thrones ends for the season finale on Sunday night. I probably will be live tomorrow, but it's been busy. I got Little League Baseball to coach. I got all this different moving parts in addition to everything else that's going on. But I got a lot of things I want to get with you guys on. Zion to the Pelicans. What does it mean? What do we learn? Brooks Koepka dominates the PGA today. -7. 3-stroke lead the last I checked about 5 minutes ago. Trailblazers-Warriors, Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals tonight. Raptors-Bucks tomorrow night. St. Louis Blues, the NHL screwed up and absolutely destroyed their chances of winning Game 3. I'll talk about that. Disney buys Hulu, why you should be paying attention to this story if you aren't already. And Joe Biden is surging in the Democratic primary race, proving maybe, possibly, that Democrats are learning social media is death. Everybody hates Joe Biden on Democrat left-wing social media. Yet the vast majority of the political party represented by Democrats loves Joe Biden. We'll talk about what that means. But first, we start with Zion. Zion to the Pelicans. I love this because immediately everybody who lives on the east and the west side of this country, New York and LA media immediately jumped in and tried to define Zion going to New Orleans as being a disappointment. What I want to ask you is this. Can you imagine how amazing your life would be if you were 19 years old, you had $50 million guaranteed, and you got to go live in New Orleans? All right? Regardless, I love the city of New Orleans, okay? And I like my time down in Louisiana in general. But I want you to just think about how good your life would be if suddenly you had $50 million at 19 and you got to go live full-time in New Orleans, all right? When I was 19 years old, I went to New Orleans and I had $50 and I had one of the best times of my life. I can't imagine what I could have done with $50 million. The downside might be I would probably be dead. The upside would be it would have been an amazing way to die. I would have had an incredible life. New Orleans, I think, is a fantastic place for someone to get to go to play basketball like Zion because everything he does is going to be under the microscope. I would rather be under the microscope in a mid-size American town that has really good weather, where everybody is chill, where it's hard to get attention for doing crazy things like New Orleans, than I would in New York or in LA. And I think this is important, and I think this is a significant aspect. Stars make teams, make cities relevant. Cities and teams don't make stars relevant. This is an important distinction that I think you need to think about on the importance of individuals. I've said this about college basketball and college football for a long time. When I was a kid, it was a big deal to sit around and debate, how good of a job is this? How great of a coaching opportunity are you going to get? Let's compare Florida with Mississippi State. Let's compare Michigan with Indiana. Here is the truth of the matter. If the coach is outstanding, the program doesn't matter. And that is also true of individual player talent in every major sport in America. It has become true. If you are really good at playing quarterback, the audience will find you in the NFL. The size of your market doesn't matter. Peyton Manning would have been just as big of a star if he had played for the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Arizona Cardinals as he was playing for the Denver Broncos and the Indianapolis Colts. If Tom Brady's entire career had been with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers instead, and he and Bill Belichick had been there instead of in New England, he would be just as big of a star as he is in the nation, as he is playing in New England, as he is playing in Tampa Bay. Where stars go matter, not what happens with their teams and not what happens with their city. This is huge, and I'm surprised how many people still don't understand it. If Zion is a stud, people will find him. The Golden State Warriors stunk for most of their entire history as a basketball franchise. They are in the Bay Area playing in Oakland, a city that nobody wanted to play in. Now they are building a brand new arena in San Francisco, and they are the toast of the town, even though they're on the West Coast and their games happen late. In football and in basketball, it is such a star-driven sport that the talent and eyeballs will find you if the talent is there. So all these people talking about, oh, Zion lost so much money by going to New Orleans over New York, over LA, I think they're completely wrong. I think New Orleans is a great place for Zion to go. I think it'll allow him to develop. And if he decides he doesn't like the trajectory of that team, after 5 years, he'll be an unrestricted free agent. He can go anywhere in the country that he wants to go and play basketball for the next 6-7 years, signing a max contract. So I think this is an important detail that you haven't heard talked about a lot. Now, I also think this is intriguing. I talked about it on my show. At some point, I think we will see an NBA player pull an Eli Manning, pull a John Elway, pull an Eric Lindros, pull an innumerable numbers of baseball players over the year, and not want to go to a particular team and try to ensure that he doesn't go to that team. But it doesn't make sense for Zion to do it because all the money he's going to make, he'll never make again at 19 years old. He doesn't need to go back to Duke. Even if he got drafted by the worst team in the NBA, go there, play, develop, get better, make all your money, and set yourself up with a big-time contract scenario there. I love this situation. Congrats to Pelicans fans. I also love the way it worked out for the Memphis Grizzlies. And let me tell you this. Anybody out there who believes that Adam Silver or anybody else in the NBA is risking prison for years and the forfeiture of every dollar they have made in fraudulent claims that would immediately be filed in lawsuits over rigging the NBA draft lottery is insane. Only 4 guys who've been drafted number 1 overall have won championships with the teams that got them number 1 overall. Tim Duncan, David Robinson, LeBron James, and Kyrie Irving. Each of those teams needed 2 number 1 players. The odds of Zion Williamson being a transcendent player are not good based on looking at the history of the draft at the number 1 position in the NBA since 1985. But if you ever believed the NBA was rigging the draft lottery, that should be tossed out the window right now, okay? Because the 2 teams that the NBA probably least wanted to have big-time playmakers go to are the New Orleans Pelicans and the Memphis Grizzlies. Zion's to New Orleans. Ja Morant is going to Memphis. Congrats to Grizzlies fans, but there is a 0% chance that that would have been the selection of the NBA if they were trying to rig this process. There's no way it happened. The NBA, credit to them for their new draft lottery policy, which doesn't reward tanking, and you ended up with 2 teams that didn't try to tank to end up with the number 1 overall and number 2 overall picks. All right, Brooks Koepka is on an unbelievable roll. Brooks Koepka may be the most anonymous stud performance golfer in the history of the PGA. Nobody talks about him. We hardly know anything at all about what he does on a day-to-day basis. If you compare the amount of attention that Brooks Koepka has gotten in his career with Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, he's not even within a hair's breadth, not even in the same universe as Brooks Koepka. It's an amazing story that Koepka is as dominant as he is. He went out and shot a 63, -7 today on the PGA Championship, which is taking place today. Caught a lot of people by surprise because they moved it to May. I got Koepka at 11-1. It's crazy to me that Koepka is at 11-1 when you look at what he's done in the past several majors. This is incredible. He's out there. He's dominating. I don't know what the most recent number is, but I saw him with a 3-stroke lead. I think if he just goes out and actually manages to go even par over the rest of this tournament, he's probably going to end up winning this thing because he's got such a huge lead today. He was phenomenal. Just an absolute incredible performance by Brooks Koepka. I hope you hopped on and got him at 11 or 12 to 1 before the tournament started. I bet he'll be 2 to 1 or thereabouts by the end of the day on Thursday based on how everybody appears to be playing. Still a lot of golfers on the course. We'll see what ends up happening there. Tonight is Game 2 of the Trailblazers against the Warriors. Tip for you. This is a crazy stat. 14 NBA series have started with Game 1 so far in the postseason. It's a wild stat. The under is 13-1 in those 14 series in Game 1. It takes a little bit of time for teams to figure out how to work against each other. They don't come out gunning and making shots like they will later in the series. Game 2, that flips. Tonight, the over is the play. I think Damian Lillard comes out, looks for his shot. I love Lillard here. I got Klay Thompson over 3.5 made threes. I am over on 218 tonight in the Warriors going up against the Trailblazers. Also, if the Trailblazers lose this game, the series is officially over. So the Trailblazers have to win this series. The NBA desperately needs at least one, either the Eastern or the Western Conference, to be competitive. Unfortunately for them, I don't think we're going to have that competitive of series. I think the Warriors win in 5 or less. I think that the Raptors win the Bucks win in 6 or less as well. And I think tonight, if the Warriors win, this series is over. There's no way that the Trailblazers are winning 4 out of 5. We still got Kevin Durant sitting out there on the edge who potentially could come back if needed. I don't think they're going to need him. I think the way it goes is Dub win tonight, Warriors win tonight. Game 3, you go with the Trailblazers putting everything into it, winning Game 3, lose Game 4, lose Game 5. This thing is almost over, but tonight is the must-win. For the Raptors, last night, you're never going to get Kyle Lowry going 7 for 9 from 3, probably again in his playoff career. The whole team went 0 for 15 from the floor in the fourth quarter for the Raptors outside of Kyle Lowry. The Game 7 hangover was real. They fell apart, and the Bucks cashed the win despite going 11 for 44 from 3, which is about as bad as they're going to shoot no matter what. I like the Bucks big on Friday night to win Game 2 and effectively end, I believe, this series as well. The Raptors come back, may win 1 or 2 games, but they're not going to win this series. It's going to be Golden State against the Bucks in the NBA Finals. Last night, this drove me crazy. This drove me absolutely bonkers. St. Louis Blues give up a goal with 1 minute left. They're up 4-3, goes to 4-4. Then you have a clear hand pass. There was an attempt to knock the puck directly in front of the ice via a pass. The NHL, this is a lot like the NFC Championship game between the Rams and the Saints, doesn't allow that pass to be reviewed. And as a result, man, St. Louis Blues fans got screwed. This is the third major call that has gone in favor of the San Jose Sharks. First, they got a 5-minute major against the Las Vegas Golden Knights that they didn't deserve in Game 7. Their season should have already been over. Then they got a very questionable instant replay review that overturned a game-tying goal by the Colorado Avalanche in Game 7 of the second series. And then last night, the Blues are poised to go up 2-1. The game goes into overtime. There's no way imaginable that should have been allowed to exist. You could see it clear as day. 4 officials missed it. It's not subject to instant replay review. That's ridiculous when you consider all of the things in hockey that are subject to instant replay review, such as offsides that has nothing to do with a goal, whether or not a skate is across the line by a millimeter from a guy who's not even involved in the play. This needs to change. It needs to be changed as soon as the offseason gets here. My condolences to the St. Louis Blues, who I have an NHL Stanley Cup Finals ticket on. Of course, I would get screwed in the Rams and Saints game, and also now in the Blues series going up against the San Jose Sharks. big news here. Big news here. Disney has bought Hulu. I don't know how many of you subscribe to Hulu, but my wife makes us subscribe to everything, right? I'm a Hulu subscriber, WWE subscriber, Amazon Prime, Netflix, DirecTV, Comcast. If you can pay for it monthly, I'd probably pay for it monthly. And that's before Disney Plus starts, which I'll be paying for, and all these other individual monthly costs start, all right? My wife can spend money like a drunken sailor. But this is a fascinating media business move that Disney has launched Disney Plus, and they have bought Hulu, and they have launched ESPN Plus in short order. I don't know how many people are noticing this, but effectively in real time, Disney is trying to become Netflix. And what they are going to do, I think, and I don't know if this has officially been announced, is they are going to bundle all of these premiums, and they're going to create their own cable satellite bundle by featuring Disney Plus, which will primarily exist for kids and families, by featuring ESPN Plus, which will be for sports fans, and by using Hulu, which will be for adults that want dramas. And they have bought all these Fox assets. They already have Marvel. They already have the Star Wars entities. And they are going to roll this all in and try to compete with Netflix. My bet would be, here's a bet for you early, that they will offer you all three of those services, Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus, for $1 less or the same amount that Netflix charges right now. I'm not sure, one of you will tell me. I think Netflix is like $14.99. But if you look at Netflix, this is a race to create original content. Okay? Everything is moving towards who can deliver original content to you. And so ESPN Plus is not going to have anywhere near the quality of game right now, unless, and here's a big prediction for you, unless the Disney gets the NFL Sunday Ticket, not for this year, but I think for next year. My prediction for you right now is that Disney gets the NFL Sunday Ticket and makes basically everyone have to come in and subscribe to ESPN Plus, because then they would have the NFL, then they would have the UFC, and then they would have a massive must-have, must-watch ESPN Plus property. Now, AT&T is going to fight tooth and nail to try to keep them from getting it, and Amazon is going to desperately want it as well. That's NFL Sunday Ticket. But I think a lot of people are not paying attention to what Disney is doing here. They are trying to become Netflix, and they are going to try to go toe-to-toe with Netflix, and we'll find out what the market is for Netflix, not just in America, but worldwide, because that's where Netflix is starting to compete. I am seeing the designs of what Disney's business plan is, and I got to give them credit. I like that design. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think the question that is going to end up arising is Netflix going to compete? Could I see Netflix buying WWE? Yes. Could I see Netflix trying to buy DAZN? Yes. Could I see Amazon potentially going out and buying Netflix to try to roll everything they do with Amazon Prime into Netflix's properties as well? These are stories really worth following. Full disclosure, I'm an Amazon shareholder and I'm a Netflix shareholder. I am not a Disney shareholder, but I am utterly intrigued by what I am seeing in terms of the streaming wars and battles that are coming down the pike. Everything, what Disney is trying to do, and it's a really fascinating move, is they are trying to step off of a fully speeding train onto another train that's going in the opposite direction. Because what they are recognizing is what I've been talking about for a while, cord cutting is leading to a collapse of the cable bundle. And I think Disney's going to do well with Disney Plus, and I think they're going to do well with Hulu, but I think the challenge they're going to have is ESPN Plus can't share the properties that exist on Big ESPN and Big ESPN2. So they're kind of handcuffed here, which is why I like DAZN potentially, because you need a pure play sports subscription company in order to really compete in that arena. The problem that ESPN has is they don't own their own stuff. Whereas, and it's incredible, credit to Bob Iger for this, Disney owns Marvel, they own Star Wars, they own all the Disney library. ESPN is just a middleman. So what I am intrigued to see is how is this going to play out going forward as people make decisions in the world of sports, because most of ESPN's content is not individually owned, and so it's completely different than their business model that exists elsewhere. I think the way that Disney's going to try to monetize it is they are going to roll ESPN Plus in as a part of their bundle with Hulu, with ESPN Plus, and with Disney Plus, and they will say, hey, for $14.99 a month or $13.99 a month or whatever it is, you can get the same cost as Netflix with all of these competitors rolled in together. And you can also buy them individually, but it'll cost more individually, $7 each, let's say individually, or $13.99 with your buying the bundle of all of those. So I think this is pretty intriguing to follow. Finally, in the world of politics, you guys know I love politics. Joe Biden is surging. Joe Biden is kicking ass. I don't know if you guys have been following this story, but they did polling inside the Trump White House. And the only Democratic candidate that kicked Donald Trump's ass was Joe Biden. Joe Biden brings back the black voters of Barack Obama who vanished and did not support Hillary Clinton. He brings back many of the voters in the Midwest, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Ohio, that have totally repudiated the Democratic Party. And I believe Joe Biden would beat Donald Trump if they run against each other in 2020. Certainly the polling reflects that. What I also believed was that Democrats were too dumb to pick their best candidate to put forward because he was an old white guy, and Twitter is obsessed with identity politics, and if you are an old and a white guy, they don't want you to represent the Democratic Party. But something utterly intriguing has happened, which the media is going to catch on to sooner or later, and that is Twitter left-wing politics is not the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party on Twitter has been taken over by far left-wing people talking about socialism and reparations and all these other gigantic dumb ideas, in my opinion. And the reality is the nuts and bolts Democratic primary voter is not in any way involved on social media. And so the fact that AOC gets all this attention isn't reflected in real life based on the support that those people produce outside of the social media arena. So I think Joe Biden is the best nominee for the Democrats. I think the lead that he has developed right now is massive, and I think he's been particularly smart, and Donald Trump has played into it by already starting a national campaign against Donald Trump. If you have noticed, Joe Biden will not mention, I believe, any Democratic candidate that's running against him. I predicted this, and so far he has, and the question was, what would the situation be when you actually look at Joe Biden? Joe Biden's going to say what Ronald Reagan did, which he has a commandment. I shall not speak bad of any Democrat. He's already said it. Same thing Ronald Reagan said when he ran as a Republican. And he's going to focus all his fire on Donald Trump. Now, to his credit, Donald Trump has not been smart enough to avoid it. So Donald Trump has been playing into Joe Biden's game plan by already starting to criticize Joe Biden. Donald Trump's best route to winning in 2020 is for the Democratic candidates to tear down Joe Biden and for them to select someone who is far less strong of a political candidate, right? The best person I believe Donald Trump could run against is Bernie Sanders. I was reading the other day, somebody said Bernie Sanders is a socialist who looks like the doctor from Back to the Future. That is who Donald Trump would love to run against because he's outside the mainstream of Democratic politics. The single worst person that Donald Trump can run against is another old white dude because it knocks identity politics out of the equation and it turns into a battle for the hearts and minds of Scranton, Pennsylvania steel workers, and I think Joe Biden can win that election. So I think the Democrats are actually being really smart and creating right now a huge firewall for Joe Biden. And what's going on here is ultimately somebody has to get in the ring with Joe Biden. And I think what you're going to see is a huge field actually benefits Joe Biden. If there are 20 people running for the Democratic office, now 21 because the stupid New York City mayor decided to run. If there are 21 people running for the Democratic nomination, it's almost impossible for a new voice to get toe-to-toe with Joe Biden. This is where Trump was correct. He used to say, look, people are saying, oh, Trump's only got 30% of the vote. Yeah, but there's 16 people running. Right now, Joe Biden's got like 40% of the Democratic Party support, and there are 21 guys running. Already, Beto's had to go back and retool his entire campaign. You've got Elizabeth Warren, who has been unable to ever budge or get any actual attention. Mayor Pete has actually created space for himself, but he started at 0 and he's only been able to get up to 7 or 8%. He's topped out there. And Bernie Sanders has a huge database of supporters. But I think what's going to happen is this. Iowa will narrow down the race to 2, 3, or 4 candidates. New Hampshire, Bernie Sanders is probably going to win. And then Joe Biden is going to go down to South Carolina. And if Biden wins South Carolina and he wins Iowa, this thing will be over. So if I'm Joe Biden's campaign right now, I'm saying, hey, we need to win Iowa. We don't even need to worry about New Hampshire, even though if we win Iowa, we'll get a slingshot effect. And then we need to go down to South Carolina where there's a huge number of black voters. We need to be owning that audience. We need to hope that Cory Booker and Kamala Harris, 2 black candidates, are out by then. We lean into Obama in South Carolina, and everybody supports us there. And coming out of those 3 primaries, we look like we are the presumptive nominee. That's where I think you're going if you are the Joe Biden candidate. All right. I understand some Trump people out there think that they're going to beat Biden. I'm telling you this right now. I believe Joe Biden will beat Donald Trump, and I don't think it'll actually be that close. I think that Biden can flip a lot more Trump states than Trump can flip Biden states. In order to beat Biden, Trump would have to do what he did. He'd have to win Pennsylvania, have to win Ohio, have to win Michigan, have to win Wisconsin, and I just don't see it happening. I think Joe Biden beats Trump. I don't think it's particularly close. And if I am Donald Trump, I want anybody AJB or ABD, whatever the slogan is here. Anybody but Biden, ABB. I want anybody but Biden if I am Donald Trump headed towards 2020. Because what state is Trump going to flip? Biden's more competitive in Florida. Biden's more competitive in North Carolina. Biden is more competitive in Arizona. Biden is more competitive everywhere than Hillary Clinton was. I think Joe Biden beats Donald Trump in 2020. You can get him right now at 4-1. He was 12-1 just a couple of weeks ago to be elected in 2020. All right. Love all of you. My name is Klay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. By the way, let me say this. I don't think the Republicans are going to lose the Senate, so I'm fine with divided government. I really am fine with nobody screwing up. Like, just keep the car in the center of the road, keep my taxes low, have a pro-growth environment government, right? And everything will be fine. Divided government probably keeps that in place. Keeps anything from going totally crazy. I think Mitch McConnell will still be in charge of the Senate. I think that the Republicans will maintain the Senate no matter what in 2020. All right. I love all of you. My name is Klay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. Appreciate all the support you show for the show. If you enjoy it, share it with your friends. I'll be live on Lock It in about 45 minutes. Look forward to chatting with you guys then. Again, my name is Klay Travis. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. This has been Outkick the Show. See you guys. Love you. Thank you, Facebook. See y'all.